and welcome to episode 1 of the Beyond Fear podcast. My name is Jen Coppock, and today's episode is about strength training, how to get started. The purpose of this episode is to be particularly helpful, especially if you're using one of the GLP receptor agonist drugs, weight loss drugs, such as Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Saxenda. I spoke to a few of the members on the Mounjaro UK Facebook group. If you're considering taking Mounjaro, I strongly recommend joining that group. Super lovely community and very helpful. A lot of the members had different barriers with regards to getting started with strength training. The main one in particular, they didn't know where to begin. Generally, a lot of people don't want to go to the gym. I will be filming 10-minute exercise videos for the group to how you get started, regardless of whereabouts you are on your fitness journey. So this episode is going to look how to get started. I've also got some Q&As, and I'm hoping to sell the idea of strength training. I know motivation is a big factor. We all know we need to be doing different things. You know, life's crazy. Trying to fit things in can be difficult. Wanting to fit things in can be even more difficult. So how can we get beyond that? This episode is a little bit more specific to the weight loss drug community because I've got a nerd alert, and the nerd alert looks at a study that involves taking Saxenda, so it's one of the GLP-1 agonists, taking Saxenda along with exercise and what that study actually showed. So super interesting facts and data. It will only be brief and short, so if you do not like nerding out, you're not a geek and hate science completely, I understand. It will literally take 30 seconds, 60 seconds of your time, and it might be enough to win you over and get that motivation going if you're on the fence about getting started with strength training, and it's still one of those, I know I should be doing it, don't think I really want to. So moving on to section 1, why do we want to strength train? Well, it helps prevent muscle loss. So when we are taking one of the GLP-1s, generally we will hopefully lose weight quite quickly, but I say hopefully, around half of the weight that's lost will be fat and around half will be muscle, just as a general guideline. I know during my journey, I've been doing a lot of cardio exercise. I haven't really been doing much strength training. I've lost about 10% of my power on the bike. So that's going to be probably around 10% muscle. So I've lost muscle during my weight loss. You've got to work hard. Eating protein will help keep the muscle. It's not enough. You've got to eat the protein and do the work. You've got to do the work, lift the heavy weights, have the resistance. And when I'm talking heavy weights, might not necessarily be 40, 60 kilos on a big dumbbell. It's what's heavy for you. And that's one of the key things I want to cover in how to get started is knowing how to get started safely rather than just launching into it and trying to do what is being set by the person on the exercise video or in the gym. Is knowing where you should start, knowing where you should get started. So when you are setting yourself up for a session, you have the right amount of weight or the right amount of resistance going into each exercise. Getting started with strength training will make daily tasks easier. How that's going to look is going to be different for each of us. So one person on the group said about how they got down on the floor to play with their child. They normally had to shout their husband to help them get up. They had a non-scale victory of they got up on their own. That could be the goal, is I want to be down on the floor and I want to be able to get up unaided on my own and be independent and strong. So that could be a goal. It could be not being exhausted going up the stairs or out of breath, having to stop halfway up the stairs. It could be getting your shopping, walking it and holding it to the car or walking it home. It could be lifting your child and putting it up on putting it up on your shoulders and walking around with it. We've all got different ideas of what it means to us. It could be you've always wanted to start a sport. I know a few people have said that they were runners or they did a particular sport. They would love to get back there. They just don't see it happening. Once the weight starts shifting and once the strength training starts increasing, so you start feeling strong and feeling like your old self, that could be the goal, is actually by getting started on the strength training, that's going to lead me back to do my sport. It could be that you do a different sport. When I used to play roller derby and I damaged my knee and all I wanted to do was skate again. And then I put on a load of weight. I wanted to get back to it. I didn't end up going back to it though. I went and took up running. Oh, the thing I said I always hated, I just took up running. And I took up running, I took up cycling, and I took up swimming and ended up doing triathlons, as you do. I specifically remember turning around to one of my friends saying, Why would anybody want to do a triathlon? You go and get wet, then you get on a bike soggy and wet, and then you ride around on a bike, you get off the bike, and then you run. Who would want to run? Well, muggins here. Having those non-scale victories will help you create your own little plan of goals. So little tiny goals towards the big goal, whatever the big goal looks like. Those goals will be the thing that keep you going when things are hard, or, you know, the weather's not great, or life's taking over. You've been working late, doing overtime, and you've got in and it's really late. You've just had your tea. You just want to get in bed or crash out on the sofa or whatever. Having that, yeah, but I really want to hit that goal, will give you that extra burst of motivation to just go, let's just get this 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be pretty. Let's just get it done. And that will be the thing that makes all the difference. And that will be the change, the new you. So one of the things I started doing nutritionally when I started taking the Mounjaro was I imagined what future Jenny would eat like. So what would future Jenny eat like? What behaviors does future Jenny have? And I'd sort of make a mental note of, or you could write it out on a piece of paper and make a list. Having those, well, future Jenny gets up at 6 a.m. full of energy. Future Jenny goes for a run and does this and does that and eats this and doesn't pig out on biscuits every afternoon. Whatever. We're all different. But if you kind of think what the future you looks like, that's going to help. It makes your body more resilient and robust. It will help prevent injuries, regardless of what age you're at. By having good, strong muscles, it's going to keep your joints together and working smoothly. So it's a double whammy there in that if you take up the strength training, you stick with it, it might lead to another sport. And if it leads to another sport, you're going to be better at that sport and you're going to prevent injury because you've started the strength training early in the weight loss program. You've managed to retain a lot of your muscle mass and you've managed to build on it. So that's one of the things that I'd be wanting to look at with each of you. Is obviously we're all different, but on a whole, can you lose the weight, retain what muscle you've got, but also add to it? Without doing the strength training, you won't add to it. You'll be lucky to retain a lot of it. You need to do the strength training to retain it and to add. And that's what I'd be looking at. What else do you deserve? You deserve the best. And losing the weight, increasing your muscle mass, that's what you deserve. You can do this. It will only take 10 minutes a day. We're going to go through how to get started anyway, but you've got to want it, and you should want it because you deserve it. Strength training will also improve your metabolism and it will enhance your energy burning. What that means is a pound of muscle will burn 3 times as much as a pound of fat. When you have got to weight, when you've got to your maintenance weight, and you're just sitting there for an hour, you would be burning 3 times as many calories as a non-muscular version of yourself. So that's huge. That could be the difference between losing the weight and keeping it off, or losing the weight and putting a bit back on slowly and then having to maybe go back on it. Whatever your maintenance plan looks like, it will help towards that. The weight loss drugs actually perform better for people with improved metabolisms. When someone in the group is new and they say, how am I going to respond to this? Am I going to lose weight straight away? It depends. It doesn't seem to go off how old you are. It doesn't seem to go off what your BMI is. It doesn't seem, we've been taught with the Biggest Loser show that the heavier you are, the bigger the weight loss is. You're going to lose a stone in the first week on this new program on the TV show. Yes. But if you're smaller, you might be lucky to lose 2 pounds. It doesn't work like that with this drug. What these drugs tend to do is, if you're more metabolically sound, you're losing fast. You're losing like 4 or 5 pounds a week. Some people have been losing even more than that. The mitochondria, how young you are, whether you're female or male, whether you are perimenopause, postmenopause, all of these factors go into where you are metabolically. It's virtually everything can play a part in your metabolism. We could be here all day listing them. So we won't because I keep getting sidetracked and this short podcast is going to end up super long. But doing everything you can to improve your metabolism, strength training is part of that, will help those drugs work better for you. They will work better, they will work for longer, and they will work faster with less side effects. So strength training improves your metabolism, will help the drugs work better for you now and in the future. So if you have to stay on one as a maintenance plan, you'll hopefully be on a lower dose and it'll hopefully be cheaper. So it will be better for your wallet as well. Strength training enhances insulin sensitivity. So that's one of the big things with the drugs. It helps to increase your insulin sensitivity. That will help reduce the risk of diabetes in itself. It could help reverse it. So strength training, if you've just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and you start strength training now, along with doing all the other things, you could potentially reverse it and get rid of that diagnosis. And it can all be done by just adding a bit of strength work into your daily life and making it like you time, me time. It also improves body composition. So, we're going to likely get a bit of saggy skin during, especially rapid weight loss. So when you lose weight, your skin has to shrink down. So a really good way of thinking of this is like if any of you have ever had a baby and your belly goes really big, your skin stretches, and then all of a sudden, overnight, it suddenly, baby comes out and it comes back down. But the skin doesn't go back to normal. It just kind of goes a bit saggy and loose because it's been rapid. It's not had time. Your skin needs to sort of shrink back slowly. And when we're older or it's been done really quick or both, it will go saggy. There's a lot of people that sort of claim there's collagen products that will help. The data's iffy. On that. I'll maybe look into it at another point and see what studies specifically. I did have a quick glance before this podcast and I haven't found anything of real note and value backing or actually there have been these massive improvements over the last few years. It could just be a nice way of treating yourself, but they've spent a lot of money on it because it's unlikely to work. Surgery is pretty much the only option to have it removed. I'm not advising surgery. However, I did have surgery in Lithuania. If you're going to have surgery to remove excess skin, there's a really good clinic in Lithuania. There's like 5-star treatment. It's amazing, and it's probably going to be cheaper than privately here in the UK. But anyway, well, we're not endorsing going under the knife. However, if it's important to you, then look at Lithuania. It's brilliant. But anyway, moving on. Muscle will also help. So I was going to say we've just sort of gone off on one there, but muscle will help fill the excess skin off. So if your skin has got a little bit saggier, looser, especially bingo wings, that's always a popular one. So by building up the triceps, by building up the muscles within that's going to kind of give something of substance for the skin, and it's going to be physically more sculpted and prettier if you're worrying about that. And again, it will help towards long-term maintenance by boosting your metabolism. It will help maintain your weight loss. And as I say, the drugs tend to work better the better your metabolism is. So all good things. Now, quickly, nerd alert. This is a study done in 2021 by Juhl, Lundgren et al. That means there was a few other people involved. And it looked at liraglutide. And liraglutide, it's not more commonly known under the weight loss drug as Saxenda. It's also known as Victoza if you're taking it for diabetes. So this study looked at that drug. The participants involved in the study had to lose 5% of their body weight to take part. So, you signed up to the study, you were given an exercise plan or whatever. You've got to lose 5% of your fat before you can start. They started and they were given a tablet, and it was either a placebo or it was the drug. They were also told whether they were allowed to exercise or whether they weren't allowed to exercise. So they had to follow an exercise plan or not. The key information I want to cover are the ones that were taking the drug, because it's most relevant to the people that are taking the drugs rather than comparing to the placebo group. So what was really interesting in the study was when they took the drug, they kept the weight off. So they kept the weight off. The 5% they'd lost over a year, they kept it off by staying on the drug. The ones that were taking the drug only lost about £2 extra. So nothing much, £1 to £2. So yeah, okay, they kept the weight off. They lost a little bit. Great. they also lost nearly 2% of their body fat. So actually they did make a little bit more muscle. So that's, that's a good thing. However, the combination group, they kept the weight off. They lost an extra half a stone. So they kept the weight off. They lost an extra half a stone. And they actually reduced their body fat by 4%. So that was nearly double. So not only are they finishing the study lighter, but they're also finishing with less body fat and more muscle. So that was exercise. That was following the recommended daily guidelines of exercise or weekly guidelines of exercise, which I'm going to get to now. How to get started. So I know this is a bit everybody's been waiting for. Jen, you waffle too much. Tell us, how do we get started? Well, start small. Start small and start consistently. The government guidelines for fitness is to spend 150 minutes doing moderate activity each week or 75 minutes doing vigorous activity. So how are you going to know whether it's vigorous or moderate? Moderate activity is, you've worked hard. You've worked hard, but you feel all right. You maybe managed to have a conversation throughout. That would be kind of moderate. Vigorous would be, you're exhausted and you're knackered. The other thing you could do is to have a heart rate monitor watch. Garmin do this. I don't know about any other brands. They probably do. But Garmin will monitor your heart rate and it will tell you whether activity was moderate or whether it was vigorous. It gives you, this one does like a weekly minutes and it will work out. So it keeps it, if you're working at moderate, it will work it out like you've done 150 minutes moderate. If you've done a vigorous activity of 10 minutes, it will do like 20 minutes on top of the exercise. So it works out. So you've got an idea each week of what you've actually achieved exercise-wise, minutes in volume of intensity as a guideline. So I do recommend a Garmin, but I appreciate that will involve probably spending some money unless you know anyone with one in a drawer that they don't use, or Facebook Marketplace or eBay. Be careful you don't get scammed though. Or you can just log it yourself by keeping a piece of paper, doing a Google sheet and just logging down what you've done. 150 minutes works out just over like 20 minutes a day. So you could do 20 minutes a day, but it's like not 20 minutes hard work every day. It would be, it could be a 10-minute walk and 10-minute strength. So when you're doing like walking, jogging, running, cycling, swimming, it's all great exercise and activity, but it's kind of counted as cardio. It's cardiovascular. It gets your heart rate up in a nice steady state. What I want to sort of talk more about is strength training, and that is basically you're training with resistance. So it might be using weights. It could be using bands. You might start without any weights or without any bands, or using body weight. We're all different, and I'll get to that shortly on how to know where to start with regarding to choosing weights to use. 10 minutes a day is fine. So 10 minutes of strength a day. You probably find like 10 minutes of strength. You might find 4 or 5 minutes is vigorous and 5-6 minutes is moderate. And then coupled up with the occasional short walk in the week or something that you're sort of thinking cardio-wise would be fun, like going aqua aerobics or swimming or whatever. Getting on Zwift and getting on your bike and having good fun. All of that will work together nice, and it will build your body up. It will build your heart up, your lungs up. It will help improve all your cells throughout your body, build mitochondria and restore your metabolic function. Part of it is enjoyment. So enjoyment is the key thing, is making it enjoyable. I think culturally we're sort of taught that exercise is uncomfortable and unpleasant and to be avoided at all cost. I remember being at school and one of the teachers had a poster on the wall saying, every time I think about going for exercise, I lie down until the feeling stops. That impacted on me because I remember it, 20 odd years later, I still remember this poster because that's kind of, we do have a bit of a cultural, why would you want to be working out? You should be out in the garden drinking beer. There does seem to be a bit of a cultural thing where bad habits is acceptable, but making good habits is frowned upon. And, that might just be me hanging around with the wrong people, maybe. If you're one of my friends and you're watching this, I'm sorry. just said you're all bad people. But but make it enjoyable, and that can be the activity being chosen. I used to love going roller skating. I'd go roller skating. I'd do strength training with my roller derby buddies. I'd quite happily do a load of push-ups in the middle of the sports hall with my roller derby buddies. Get me to go to the gym, and I just never enjoyed the gym. She says, having a gym in the background. I'm not a fan really. I always think, I know the benefits. I'm just not really a gym specific person going to a commercial gym and all the machines. And, I like that. If I had them all to my own self in my own little room, I'd be quite happy. But, I don't, it's just not for me. Anyway, so that might not be for you. It might be working out at home. Working out at home is fine. Working out outside, I do fitness classes outside in the local park. And people that go there, they'll come out in winter and rain and snow. They like being in the outdoors. Being outdoors is so good for the soul. And, actually setting yourself up some weights and things and saying, I'm going to do this in the garden, regardless of the weather, as long as it's safe and you're not obviously it's icy and you're slipping or anything, don't do yourself an injury. But, having that actually kind of creates a bit of a badass self. So going outside and, you've got kettlebells in the garden or just by the garden so they don't get wet. But, and that 8 o'clock in the morning, every morning, well, maybe that's a bit late, 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning, you're getting up and you're doing 10 minutes of kettlebells. You're doing outside regardless of the weather, and you'll just change what you're wearing. The day that you're going out there and it starts snowing and you're doing kettlebell swings in the snow or in the dark, in the winter, and you've just got your jacket on and you're seeing your breath, and you think, how much badass am I? So many people are still in bed, or so many people. I always used to feel quite accomplished when I'd get back from my morning run. I love running early in the morning, but I'm in a routine at the minute where I just can't get out of bed at the minute. But I used to feel such achievement getting back from my run before the milkman. When you get back and the milkman's just pulling up the street and it's like, yeah, did it, smashed it, how cool am I? Having that badass feeling, and that can be also done just with clothing. So I'm always a bit of a fan where get some nice clothing, get some nice, it doesn't matter if you sort of think, oh, I'm going to be in the kitchen on my own. It doesn't matter, but it does matter, because actually getting something kind of skimpy on, or some really bright, colourful leggings, or some really super duper awesome shorts, something you've always wanted to wear, but didn't really feel like, I'm not going to really suit that or whatever. Who's going to see you anyway? It doesn't really matter. But just putting on that clothing, it's like putting on your superhero costume. You're putting on your superhero costume before you're going out to do your super duper awesome save. And I got little weight loss drugs. Little weight loss drugs. I've got them, but I've got little weight loss gloves, and they're just like fingerless gloves. But when I go to the gym and if I put them on, I just feel more badass. I feel like cool. I've got my gloves on. I've got my vest on, and it doesn't matter whether I'm on my own or not. It's just nice. It gives that sort of aesthetically pleasing enjoyment and makes it kind of a bit of a ritual, like this is what I do, this is what future Jenny does, this is what I do now. So you can't become future Jenny without being today Jenny doing future Jenny stuff. So the only way of becoming that future self is by starting today, not tomorrow, not on Monday, starting today. You've already started your journey. Let's add things to it and make those changes. I'd also advise trying to do proper technique. Now, that's easier said than done. If you're on your own, how do you know if your technique is proper? And what is proper technique? Quite often, if you're following a video on YouTube, they'll sort of give you key pointers, or I will, give you key pointers on what you want to be looking for positioning. Without somebody that knows fitness watching you like a coach or an instructor, you're not going to know for certain. Mirrors will help. So if you are, I know nobody likes mirrors, but mirrors are a good help. If you have a mirror nearby where you're doing your workout and you're watching a video and you're seeing them do it and you look over and you see yourself doing it, it's always going to be one of them, do I really look like that? Well, that's why I always get like, do I really look? I thought I was going much lower than that or whatever. That will actually help, because you'll be able to see I didn't realize I'm doing it really wrong or whatever, you'll be able to see that. The general key points with technique are to avoid bending your back. When we're lifting, back bending's a good thing. We want our backs to be able to bend, but when you're holding weight and load and resistance, your backs don't like bending. They like to be nice and straight. So that's why everybody's always like straight backs. So that's the key one, is the back will tend to bend. If your back is bending, it's generally that the weight is too much. So it could even mean doing it without any weight might be a good thing to do. If you're noticing that your back's bending, that's generally the main one. The other thing is tucking your chin in. So tucking your chin into your chest, that will close off your airway. So that will close off everything. You won't be able to breathe as well. And that will actually bending that starts to bend your back anyway. So trying to keep your head in a nice, or neck in a nice neutral position, and avoiding doing that. Can't even breathe doing that. That is one of the key things. Progressively overloading the weights as well. So when you're starting, start light. Don't be lifting, just because your well-meaning wife or husband bought you a lovely set of kettlebells starting at 8 kilos, and you're doing overarm head presses with single arm overhead presses with an 8 kilo, and you've done one, and you're like, or you even tried to do one, and you get to there, and you're like, I can't. It's too heavy. Start light. So starting as light as you can. Tins of beans is what the one from the 90s. Get some tins of beans. Tins of beans are 500 grams. It'll save you buying some 500 gram kettlebells. Oh, it's 400 grams actually. I'm lying. There you go. Take the extra 400 grams. Starting with something really light, you could get homemade weights. You could get, there'll be YouTube videos just on that. But sand is often used, or concrete. So depending whether you're very good at DIY, you could make concrete and pour it into plastic bottles. You could keep the plastic bottle, or you could take it out and you've got a concrete weight, or you could just fill them with sand. So filling with sand, a lot of the plastic kettlebells, this is where I was going to grab one, but I won't. A lot of the plastic kettlebells are just filled with sand. That's pretty much all that they are, all sand and concrete. So you can, make your own weights, and they don't even need to be super heavy. As long as you're moving on, so your body will adapt. So when you start, let's say you start using your tins of beans, and you're doing bicep curls with tins of beans, and you're struggling, you get into 12, okay, stick there. When you get into 12 though, and you're like, that was all right, yeah, no, that's cool. Go up to, I don't know what's heavier than a tin of beans that you've got in the cupboard. Go up to a bag of sugar. So you're going to go up to a bag of sugar, or a bag of flour, 1 kilo bag of flour. So you can move on. That's the only way to overload and build up strength, is to increase the weights as you go on. Normally, it really depends. You want to get to the point where you are getting through the exercises with good form, and without, I'm feeling ready, like, that was tough, but I smashed it. Move up to another weight at that point. Don't just move up because, I did that last week, so I should move up, because that's when it gets hard, demotivating, and potentially you might injure yourself. Within half an hour of finishing the exercise, eat some protein, 20 to 30 grams. If you can eat 20 to 30 grams of protein with every meal, you're covered on your protein. You don't need to be going overloading with protein shakes or the protein puddings and things in Aldi. I was quite, I used to endorse them actually. I used to sort of say, get your protein in, get them. Greek yogurt's much better. Greek yogurt's so good for you, and it has like cultures, great for your gut microbiome. Having a great gut, oh my gosh, I can't speak. Having a great gut microbiome will also help with your metabolic state. So fuel those little bacteria in your gut, because they're going to help you out. So kind of in summary, getting started, start light. Don't set yourself up for failure. So start light, start little, and start often. It's better to try and do 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week, than to do 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and you miss one. If you feel like you're constantly missing one, or you forgot you're supposed to be doing it that day, it's better to just try and do 10 minutes a day. If you miss a session, you're only missing 10 minutes of the week. So that's good. So little and often. If bigger sessions work better for you, then fine. But generally, we're all quite time poor. And actually making it the first thing you do in the morning or the last thing you do before bed a lot of strength training can be done in your pajamas. So kind of thinking, you know what, I've not done my strength, I'm going to get it done now. Getting up in the morning is probably easier in that you're spending the rest of the day knowing it's done, rather than spending the day going, oh, I've got to do that tonight, otherwise the world will end. So little and often, make sure you've got good fun, get it enjoyable. Have a think, what will make you enjoy doing the strength training? And it could just be taking it easier. Things tend to be more enjoyable with lower intensity. So trying to make it as low intensity as possible. If that increases the enjoyment, you're going to do more of it. And so you're going to get more out of it long term. So on to common problems with strength training. Quite often, there's going to be initial fatigue. So you're going to start doing this and, Jen said I'd have more energy. She lied. You're going to start working hard. Your body's not going to be used to it. It could actually help you out of the plateau, which I know is another benefit. But strength training will often help get you out of the plateau. But that initial fatigue after doing the sessions might be hard work. You can often get DOMS, which is delayed onset muscle soreness. And what that does is it's where your muscles you've trashed your muscles during the strength training. Quite often they're all right the next day, and it's the day after. It's normally 24 to 48 hours. So quite often I've had clients where they've had a tough session and they've messaged me the next day and say, oh, it can't be that tough. I feel fine today. And then they message me the next day and go, I can't get up out of bed. I'm in pain. So it's one of those things, like it's just general aching. Going over how to get out of DOMS it's just movement. There is damage there, but it's not like, oh my gosh, there's damage there. It's just like, I always think of like micro tears. There's like micro inflammation and a little bit of damage. You've overworked the muscles. They're now complaining. If you can, do some strength training, but work on other muscles. Try to avoid the ones that are aching. You can use them. So as long as there's not actually an injury there, you can just move and work them anyway. Get them moving will help. Don't use massive. If you are gonna, let's say you've got biceps, your biceps are aching, and you're coming to do more bicep curls, you can do them. Just go for a lighter weight, because they can be naggy. Why make life harder for yourself? Just make life easier. Either do something different or just use lighter weights, because you're going to risk using poor form, and then you're going to risk an injury. And we don't like injuries. They are miserable. Make sure you are getting rest and recovery. I know I said 10 minutes every day, and someone was like, hang on a minute, I thought rest days were really important. Rest days are important. They are when your body recovers properly. Muscles don't really get bigger until they recover. They don't get stronger until they've recovered. So taking time to recover is important. So how am I endorsing 10 minutes a day? Because I'm assuming you're going to be sensible and work on different muscles. You can't work on every muscle in the body in 10 minutes. It's near impossible. There are some exercises, compound movements, which will, but on a whole, most 10-minute exercise videos work different muscles. And then the next day, you're going to work another set of muscles. And then the next day, you're going to work another set of muscles. So you do get rest. Each muscle group will get rest. But if you are feeling sore and you have got DOMS really bad, have a day off. It's fine. World will not end. Life will be good. So they're the main points. Start light, start little, start often. It will help with your weight loss. It will help keep the weight off. It will help the drugs do their job. But you've got to make it consistent. You've got to make it enjoyable. Set yourself little goals that are going to make it enjoyable and achievable for you. What would strength look like in your life? So going on to the Q&A, there were a few questions on the Mounjaro UK group, so I'm going to quickly go through those. Emma P was asking recommendations, how to start and build up, so timescales, etc. And often, 10 minutes every day would be my preferred method to get people started. But, whatever's going to work, whatever's going to be good for you, whatever's going to make you consistent would be the way forward. Don't set yourself up for failure. So don't start off with, I'm going to do 4 40-minute sessions every week. It's going to probably be too much. You're going to end up fatigued, tired, overworked. When we end up overworked, the immediate thing that goes is motivation. Oh, don't know what it is about it today. I just don't feel up to it. You've probably pushed too hard. Your body doesn't want to do it because you've gone too hard. So just being sensible with, as I say, start small, start little and often. get achievable wins. Go, I've done my strength training every day this week. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 minutes, as long as you've done it. Having that little celebration of going, I smashed it this week. Well done me. We don't say well done me enough. We need to say well done me more, because it's a really good thing and positive for us to say to ourselves. Sarah asks, exercises to tone legs and bingo wings, the upper arms, with loose skin after significant weight loss. So, as I said before, collagen products can help, but science is iffy. Surgery, go to Lithuania if it's anyway, don't worry about that. Legs, squatting. Squatting's a really good exercise for your legs. Using weighted and load, but you've got to get the form right. You've got to make sure your back is straight, and you want to make sure your knees aren't dipping in. So when your knees are kind of going inwards, that's when injuries are likely to happen. Niggly knees happen, niggly ankles start to happen, or you might start getting aches in the hips or even in your back. So make sure your form's good on your squat. If you're going to go for super low squats, don't use weight. Just try and go for low and mobile with no weight. And then when you're doing the higher weight, heavier weight, just don't go too deep into it. Especially if you've got niggly knees. Don't neglect your hamstrings. So hamstring sliders are a really good way. The hamstrings are at the back of the legs, the back of the thigh. They get neglected a lot. So glute bridges as well. So they literally kind of attach to the hamstrings. They don't, but they kind of sit next to each other. Glute is your butt and your hamstrings are the back of your legs. So, they are there together. Work on those, because the quads often take over. So the quads are the muscles at the front. They'll often take over, do the work for the back of the legs and your butt, and they'll just get lazier. The quads will get stronger. They'll move your patella, and then you'll start getting knee pain. I'll go over knees on the next podcast. Finger wings, triceps. So this is, you've got your biceps at the top and you've got your triceps at the bottom. So tricep exercises is what you want to look for your bingo wings. I do have a few that I'll be doing in the 10-minute sessions on the channel. So I will put them in, and I'll probably do a special video just on bingo wings. But if you want to do a search for tricep exercises and find one that's going to work for you, depending whether you've got anything available, normally tricep dips, tricep extensions, or tricep kickbacks are kind of the three main common ones. Emma E has asked, how do we know if we're losing fat but gaining muscle on the scales? You can get body fat scales. Renfo on Amazon are about 20, 30 quid. They're the ones I have. They will monitor your fat. Now, they will also monitor your muscle. They are not the most accurate, in my opinion. And they do have athlete mode and normal mode. So as a guess, my body fat on athlete mode is maybe 24%. Maybe I haven't checked actually. On the normal mode, it's 34%. So it's like 10% different. In truth, I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I don't think I'm either of those. They're not accurate. Medical grade scales are the only real way to know. And I've got a GP appointment in a month. So, how long it takes to get referred to the hospital to have your biometrics all tested and body fats measured and stuff. I have no idea how we do this without paying a small fortune. If you want to comment and let me know how to get that for relatively cheap or for free, that'd be cool. Gyms do have them. So going to the gym, you can often have scales there, and they will more likely be more accurate than the ones you got at home, even with the Bluetooth Renfo ones that get linked to your phone and everything. Personally, tracking measurements, so checking your bust, waist, hips. I also include my belly, so keeping an eye on your measurements will help. Strength goals help. So doing stuff like, I don't know, push-ups. How many push-ups can you do before fatiguing? And then try again in a month. It could be in 2 weeks. You check every 2 weeks, but typically every month, set yourself a little session where you do as many push-ups as you can. Pull-ups if you want to torture yourself. How long can you do a wall sit, or how long can you do a plank? Having what exercises you like to do, and putting them together. I will do a strength test at some point. I want to get all these other videos done for you all first. And then that'll help. But for now, choose some exercises, see how much you can do as a max, and and then try and beat it the next month. Just, don't be doing it every day. Don't do the same session every day. Just do it once, do your strength training, whatever you've got planned, then do it again 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks later. And then you'll hopefully compare. Make sure you log it down. There's nothing worse than doing it all. Yeah, did great. Oh, didn't write it down. No idea. You want to have that data there. And finally, Louise has asked techniques to avoid worsening bad knees. So I'm going to do a whole podcast on knees. But knees often get blamed for issues caused by problems somewhere else. So if you think of a knee, so if you imagine my knee is here. So if you think of a knee, there's actually all that's there really is a lot of is bone and connective tissue where it's sort of connecting the joint. The problem tends to be the muscles above or sometimes below, but generally above. Hamstrings and quads work together, so they work like a pulley system. And if one gets tighter than the other or weaker than the other, there's different things going on with tightness and weakness. It'll pull your patellas like to one side, and then that's going to cause pain or a lack of movement. So, and the other thing is there's a lot of knee pain. A lot of knee pain is to do with the patella not aligning correctly. But, other people have different issues. I've got a little bit of tightness in my knee at the minute. I know that's coming from one of the quad muscles, but I've had my ACL reconstructed. So structurally, my knee is not going to be the same as a standard knee. It's got muscle inside it that didn't exist before. And somebody might have meniscus damage, or they might not even have an ACL anymore and never had it replaced. So there's lots of different things going on structurally. So I can't really just cover that. Arthritis as well. So arthritis can create bony spurs to help stabilize the knee. And then you've got bits of bone where they shouldn't really be. So until the movement patterns change, that might be causing issues as well. How to protect your knees. So again, I'll do a whole podcast on this because I can geek out over knees for forever. But to protect your knees, making sure you're doing a good warm-up. So making sure that they're all nice and warm before you're doing any sort of load or wide range of movement. When you do wide range of movement, so you're getting, like a squat and you're doing a really deep squat, however that looks like, because your knee is going to be really bending, is doing them without weight. So trying to do any sort of knee bending stuff without any weight on top. If you're doing any weights like squats, just don't go very deep. So you're not aggravating the knee and forcing that knee under the load. And then make sure you do some really nice stretches at the end. So really giving your stretch, really giving your quadriceps at the front a good stretch. They don't get stretched enough. So I'll be honest, they can go several different directions. The quads typically don't get a good stretch. So if you want stretches, hip flexor stretches is a really good search to do and kind of get going through there and trying a few different ones. And you also want to hold the stretches for a good 30 to 60 seconds. You can hold a stretch for 2 to 5 minutes if you really want the magic to work. The longer you hold it, there's nothing worse than doing a stretch for 10 seconds. The longer you hold it, the looser it will get and the longer it will get. And then that's going to help pass on towards the knee. And then giving your hamstrings and glutes a good stretch. Even stretching your back. If there's a tightness in the back, that can often pull on one of the glutes or the QLs, and then it will go down the other leg. So quite often, tightness in one side of the back or even in the shoulder can help. So stretch everything. I will be filming a stretch session for everybody as well, so I will do that. So next episode, we're nearly done. Next episode will be on naggy knees, why they get the blame, how to give them a hand. I will also be doing a guest speaker episode, hopefully in the next few weeks, with an expert on the menopause. So I've just got to work out when, depending on calendars. So thank you very much for tuning in and listening. So it lasted a little bit longer than I was planning. Sorry, I do tend to waffle. But I hope I've passed the time for you doing whatever daily activity. Any suggestions, recommendations, anything you want to hear about or any questions, pop them in the comments and I'll be more than happy to answer and address in the next one. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Crack on.